Hello friends, I'm Sanjay. In this series, I'm solving and explaining the CLAT PG 2024 question paper from the exam that was conducted in December 2023. This is part 2 of the series and I will cover the second passage and the 5 MCQs associated with it. If this is the first video of this series that you are watching, you should start from part 1, in which I have given a brief overview of the approach that I'm taking with this paper and also why the elimination strategy is very important in this exam. In the previous video, you would have seen that the questions from the first passage were somewhat complicated and required quite a bit of guesswork. But the questions for passage 2 are very straightforward, and with just a little bit of logic, you can answer all of them correctly using just the information within the questions or some of the information given in the passage. This passage is extracted from a 2011 case involving a Sahara group company and SEBI. At around that time, there were several cases involving Sahara companies and SEBI, RBI, Enforcement Directorate, Income Tax Department, etc. And this was one of those cases. Question number 6 is asking which among the following is not considered as a prospectus under the Companies Act 2013. Just look at the answer choices. Shelf and red herring are types of prospectus. It is given there itself. So eliminate A and B. Now, a prospectus is relevant or required when a company is inviting offers from the public, and this includes inviting offers through advertisements. If you require a clue, just skim through the passage and you will see several references to public and public companies. So D is also a prospectus. And we are left with option C, that is private placement offer letter, which is the correct answer. To understand more about the concept of prospectus, you can read the Companies Act, which covers this topic quite extensively. And the definition section of the Act explains the meaning of a prospectus in a simple manner. You can pause the video here and read it on the screen. Question number 7 is asking us to identify the instrument that was issued by Sahara, that is, the financial instrument that is the subject of this case. Now, if you read through the passage, it is quite apparent that it is not focusing on shares. While it says that any public issue of shares or debentures will attract SEBI and Companies Act related laws and regulations, it clearly says that Sahara companies have issued securities to the public. So it is referring to debentures. This is also reconfirmed here in this sentence, which says public companies are legally obliged to list their securities. Since this case is not about shares, eliminate options A and B. There is no reference to any kind of derivatives here. Moreover, if this case was about currency derivatives, even the RBI would be involved. So we can eliminate option D. Only option C is left out, which is the correct answer. In question number 8, we actually have information to answer question number 7. That is, the company issued securities, which were the debentures in this case. In this question number 8, we are asked to identify which rules were violated. And this is again a direct question because the answer is within the passage. It is talking about how Sahara has violated the provisions of the SEBI Act, the regulations framed thereunder, and the Companies Act. So both A and B were violated, which means that the answer here is option C, that is both the above. Question number 9 is very simple. We just have to identify which of these statements is correct. SEBI, being a statutory regulator, does not have the power to investigate and adjudicate. This is obviously incorrect. What is the point in being a statutory regulator without the power to investigate and adjudicate on the subjects that are being regulated by the organization? Investigation and adjudication are part of the regulatory function. So eliminate option A. SEBI has no jurisdiction over public issuances of hybrid securities. Well, if SEBI had no jurisdiction on public issuances of securities, which includes hybrid securities, then why is SEBI a party in this case? The passage is also talking about Sahara violating the SEBI Act by issuing the securities in question to the public, which means that option C should be eliminated because it is not correct. Powers of SEBI supersede that of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. This is absolutely incorrect since the MCA supersedes SEBI and not the other way around. So D is also eliminated. Only option B is remaining, which is the correct answer. As per Companies Act and SEBI Act 1992, SEBI has jurisdiction over both listed companies and companies which intend to get listed. This statement is correct, since SEBI sets the criteria for companies to get listed in the stock exchanges and the procedures, guidelines and regulations to be followed after listing. Question number 10 is also very simple. You should be able to answer this question with general awareness alone, without referring to the passage at all. The question is asking us to identify which of the options are mandatory in case of private placements by private companies. If it is a private company and it is a private placement, then it is a transaction between two private parties. It is not mandatory to get a grading by a credit rating agency like CRISIL, ICRA, CARE or Brickworks. If it is a private transaction between two parties, the buyer can do whatever due diligence or checks that they feel is required. They can make use of a credit rating agency if they feel the need, but it is not mandatory. So eliminate A. If it is a private placement by private companies, why is a public advertisement required? It is not. So eliminate B. It is a private placement, so post-issue listing of securities is also not required. This is supported by the passage also, which mentions that public companies are legally obligated to list their securities. We can infer that private companies doing private placements do not have similar requirements. So that eliminates C. Now only D is left, and that is the correct answer. Also, looking at it logically, we are still talking about a private company, which still has to follow some registrar of companies requirements. And filing the return of allotment would also be required. So all the 5 questions for this passage were quite simple. In the next part, I will cover passage 3 and the associated questions. I would recommend that you should read the passage, the source, and also attempt the 5 questions on your own so that you can follow our discussion more easily. You can also go to lawman.com and check out the CLAT PG mock test series for the next exam, which includes all the CLAT PG previous papers, including this one, and both the new and old pattern mock tests for CLAT PG and other LLM entrance preparation. You can also attempt a free full-length mock test to get a feel of the series. I will see you again very soon in the next video. Jai Hind.